2023 has already had some amazing games this year, but coming up in the next couple months, it's just going to get better. Let's see what's coming out in April. Here are some of the top games coming out in April that I'm excited for. Make sure to comment if I missed any and which ones you are hoping to jump into in the comments. The first 1,000 people to comment will be the first 1,000 people to have commented. And speaking of thousands and thousands of people, this first game is probably going to have that many players. Meet Your Maker. Coming out now, Meet Your Maker from Behavior Interactive is a first-person base-building, raid-based game, and it's got co-op. You work for the Chimera, a massive living experiment that's created to be the last best hope to save Earth, and to do so, you are a custodian working for the Chimera. You raid enemies' bases that players have actually created themselves in an editor, skipping past traps to find death and returning with resources to upgrade your own base and character, collecting suits and weapons, items, traps, and enemies to put in your own base. You're not only rewarded just for getting out there and going through enemies' bases lickety-split, but also for sending other players to dirt naps in your own maps. Able to record patrol routes for their own forces, place explosive traps, as well as change the entire makeup of the base once an enemy has got your resources and is trying to escape in one last bid to kill them. There's an incredible amount of variety in Meet Your Maker, and that editor looks sweet. Foot it through fortresses, feed back to friends, and find more foes in Meet Your Maker soon. A bit first person, a bit base builder, a bit go till you have to quit resource gathering game. And it's on pretty much every single platform. Next up is Road 96 Mile Zero. This is a prequel to the original Road 96 graphical narrative adventure. The road games are like Life is Strange, mixed with musical interludes and minigames, psychedelic musical trips mixed with more down-to-earth emotional choices. This game takes place in White Sands, the condominium that the main characters Zoe and Kato have left in the original game. Road 96 scored incredibly high and was noted for excellent storytelling and a unique take on the narrative adventure. Mile Zero seems to continue that, and it's available. Well, it should be out right now. Next up, Sherlock Holmes Awakened. Frogwares, the proverbial example of a hit and miss developers, coming back with what we can hope is a hit. It could also be a miss, in the form of a remake and a retelling of Sherlock Holmes The Awakened, originally a 2007 game. The fine folks at Frog are remaking it in today's image, a mixture of Sherlock Holmes and the Cthulhu mythos. Sherlock's never been more scared than he is right now in this game. He's more of a man of reason, so discovering an alien being that defines reasoning is both revelatory and shattering to Sherlock. His obsession with the truth is going to drive him to the brink of insanity in this game. It's something that was an excellent game when it was originally released, but Frogwares is trying to bring it up to today's standards. The Awakened is set in 1882 and reveals how Sherlock Holmes and John were just roommates at the time, becoming the renowned detective duo. They are adjusting the visuals, the narrative, animations, mechanics, and even the addition of an insanity gameplay style that have all been revamped thanks to the use of Unreal. Third-person detective games are not a dime a dozen, but Frogwares themselves have a huge number of entries in this category. Some, like I said earlier, hits and misses. Awaken comes after a couple misses, so let's hope this gets them back on track. And that's coming around April 11th. Next up, Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores DLC. Horizon Forbidden West was a knockout, one of the prettiest games to hit the PlayStation series of consoles, and Forbidden West is being expanded with a massive DLC where you explore a ruined LA in Burning Shores, and you get to explore a new land. To the south of the Clan lands, the remains of the Los Angeles area has been shaped into a perilous archipelago by years of volcanic eruptions and seismic activity. And of course, that means Aloy has to find a reason to go there. In this original title, Aloy finds out that Hero's job is never done and is just waiting for the last credit stinger in a game. And now a sinister new threat to the world is there. This is a title where the main creatures look spectacular. Massive boss battles already shown seem to one-up even the main game. Now, speaking of that, it does have one unique issue I want to bring up. You have to beat the main game to play this DLC. With a current trend of less than 20 to 25% of gamers beating a game when they get it, it seems like this DLC won't and can't see the large audience that may be interested. We'll just have to see how this is done, or if maybe they give you a save game, but it doesn't sound like they do. Also, the DLC is for the PS5 only. That's around April 18th. And the next up is a game I've been looking forward to since the very first trailer. This is Xbox and PC. It's the last case of Benedict Fox. It's a 2D paranormal platforming investigation game. While posing as Benedict Fox, you explore a hellish underworld as the main character, a self-proclaimed investigator that's shackled in some way to a demon. You use the demon's unholy connection to delve into the thoughts of recently deceased characters in the game for answers as you investigate the murder and disappearance of a young couple at their massive, possibly haunted, but just really for sure very scary looking estate. An intriguing Burton-esque looking art style brings this mysterious tale to life as you enter this world of shadowy organizations, forbidden rites, and ruthless crimes, and you investigate it using a demon. A Lovecraftian Metroidvania is what this is called. You explore the minds of the victims to find the clues and to battle other demons. Quick thinking skills, a bit of strategy, and an iron will is going to be needed to get all the way through the madness here as you fight demons and monsters and cultists, use your weapons, your abilities, and the environment against them. This game just looks slick. The art style speaks to me, and that creepy, but I want to explore just a little bit more kind of art style is what continually pulls me through games like this. Like a kid getting ready to be the first one eaten on Stranger Things. This comes out April 27th. And next up is one that you're probably hearing more news about right now because of a preview event, and then also in the next coming weeks before we get to its release, and that is Star Wars Survivor. So Star Wars Fallen Order did a ton right in its bid to get and help Star Wars games go back on track. A Dark Souls style, at least light, titled heavy on the narrative though, following a Jedi named Cal through a huge mystery, taking on enemies with all sorts of weapons, including, of course, the lightsaber. In the sequel, which is Survivor, it's 5 years after the game, and Cal's still on the run as the Galactic Empire stamping out any remaining Jedi that they can find. While the Empire is gathering more and more enemies to fight against him, he's gathering more and more people on his side for an epic battle. And battle and combat is actually one of the things that changed here. Cal now has 4 specific stances to use for lightsaber combat, each with its own weaknesses and strengths. We even got single and double-bladed lightsabers, as well as a Kylo Ren-styled old European crossguard lightsaber that makes its way into the game. Now, despite the danger to himself, his friends, or his wrists with that lightsaber, Cal's geared up for a huge battle, and this won't be coming out on the Xbox or PlayStation 4, leaving the last gen behind completely. It's only on the Series X and S and the PlayStation 5. It's also exciting to know that we won't be relegated to 28 different colors of robe like the original game. While I loved my space sword, starfaring, fighting, puce-colored Jedi Pope as much as anybody, it's time to branch out with a ton of crafting and no longer just go for the ponchos. Combat, mid, and in-game grind was a little bit of an issue in the first game, and all of this appears to be fixed in Survivor. It looks like everything is here for Classic. We'll just have to wait. And speaking of waiting, next up is Dead Island 2. This one has been so long in waiting that the title could just explain those who've passed away at one of the game's much-moved release date parties. But we're here in the home stretch, and for the past several months, I've been hearing all of these rumors about the game actually being very good due to a more contained gameplay experience. And with recent previews, it seems to be backing that up completely. First up, Dead Island 2 goes away from the huge open world of, let's say, Dying Light 2, the game's main competitor, and is more of a large level based around a hub style of game, with you going out into specific levels, taking on enemies and bosses, collecting loot, crafting, upgrading, and killing enemies with a new destruction system. LA, zombies, crazy characters, impromptu weapons, gore, and guns. That's what makes Dead Island 2 look like it's going to build on the successes of Dead Island 1. Maybe not Riptide. Now, Dead Island may not have the movement of Dying Light, but it's got the guns, and you get to use them all as you move through LA's most popular locations, take out the zombies, say a few one-liners, slay some enemies that are trying to kill you, and collect all the ammo and crafting parts that you need. First person, hacking and slashing, that's the kind of game I like. Next up is an honorable mention, just because I've already covered it in a review, which you can check out in the links. Hogwarts Legacy is coming out for past-gen consoles. Regarding this game, I loved it. It had some issues, but it's actually much more enjoyable as a third-person action game or RPG than I ever expected. That being said, it is a heavy game on the processor and GPU. Past-gen platforms are going to have a rough time of this, technically, especially if the previous versions, including the PC version, are any real indicator where the game really shows that while you can get it to run, it's quite difficult and not necessarily optimized. I'm excited to see how this is going to handle the split release, with the originals already having come out on the Series X, S, and PlayStation, and now on the PlayStation 4 and the original Xbox. This is going to be a title to check out because there are still a ton of consumers out there with these systems. April's packed with these titles, some huge, some small, indies, double A's, triple A's. Some will succeed, some will slide into the inevitable discussion of, do you remember that game years from now? But I'm actually stoked for April. Add in yours in the comments, subscribe to help the channel fight the YouTube algorithm that's burying pretty much everything, and make sure to hit the notify all button. If I've saved you any money or warned you away from a bad game, join the Patreon. I buy every game I cover. We do weekly podcasts and have an amazing Discord community with over 1,000 people playing and streaming and discussing games, and it always helps.